Hi folks, I am 12MJ-RPM-DS14. You may refer to me as either 12MJ and or MJ. So for this video I got here is basically the review of like this multi-emulator Retrople, which is like one of my main emulators for like retro gaming for games that are no longer accessible for like the majority of folks, and even no longer distributed legally on digital storefronts or printed as like physical copies. So for Retrople technically has like a huge update that like happened since somewhere around June, like mid-June, early to mid-June. So basically I'm just showing all the various types of emulators here in Retrople, since it's a compilation of all available emulators that Retrople is able to run. Back then, Retrople doesn't have different cores that you can select until their recent update, which is quite good, mainly because there are emulators for those who wanted to have access to consoles before but could not, have to use other emulator apps for gaming for those specific games. So far, one of the games that are shown here is basically Nights into Dreams, which demonstrates Retrople's SEGA Saturn emulator place, which is supposedly in Nintendo memory the Beetle SEGA Saturn. This is basically a voiceover. So I'm basically somewhat going on memory and improv here. So pardon for any mishaps and errors on my end. So basically Retrople is now a very competent emulator for the lesser accessible games on some consoles, such as for the case the SEGA Saturn games and the PlayStation 1 games, which so far in the previous version of Retrople, you have to download a certain emulator files and packages to enable some of the other emulators for yourself, because not all the games in the game emulators in the previous version of Retrople doesn't allow you to download the versions and packages of the various emulators of your preferred game console on its own before said upgrade. You have to get those packages yourself, set them up yourself, which can be tedious and even difficult to do, and any error you make would be kind of catastrophic. Your games or the emulator of your choice, or worse, it could potentially impact your own device negatively, especially for the case if you're all using Android. iOS doesn't have much emulators. So basically I'm showing a random spontaneous gameplay of Sonic Jam, showing the a world, which is essentially a playground and a alleged prototype of Sonic Adventure 1 before said game was moved in development to the Sega Dreamcast years ago. So basically Retrople is running much smoother when it comes to running SEGA Saturn games so far, which is a very good sign. Going on a tangent, this is an important tangent, by the way. There is another emulator before Retrople's a console, packages download update for like said consoles of like a different console course, like choose like the said console emulator of your choice and which version of those, and the needed packages as well. So for like the former emulator that like has the best capabilities of like running Sega Saturn games before Retrople said update was Yabasanshiro 2, which that emulator is quite good for the most part, except like there are currently some problems with like Yabasanshiro since I got way more experience playing with that one compared to the Beetle Saturn core for Retrople. Like mainly it's the issue regarding like audio when it comes to like it glitching in and out, especially if you choose to save the game in save states. The game the games that I basically played the most on Yabasanshiro is like the original Sega Saturn Nights into Dreams game, and its demo disc sibling counterpart Christmas Nights into Dreams for Sega Saturn. Like basically those games experience save state problems where every time you save the game in via save state, it's going to glitch out and ruin the audio and make the audio either screechy or at worst it's probably gonna make the audio hard to hear, especially when it comes to background music for or level music for that game, or both of these games for those cases. And there are rare and even troublesome glitches if you encounter in for the case of the original Nights into Dreams game, in one of the boss fights after defeating one of the levels, you basically experience a problem where when you save state a game, you lost the graphical textures that of the boss and the projectiles launching against your character to beat your playable character up, which is Knights for that case, which is very much not good. And it's very difficult to basically deal with it unless you're willing to replay the level all over again. Well, depends on what kind of gameplay run you're going for, which is either a normal gameplay run or a speed run or a high score run, or even in a case that you want to, a completionist speed run, which for Yabasanshiro's case, it's not necessarily as friendly of an emulator. So I more so recommend that from now on, when it comes to Sega Saturn games, I highly recommend Retrople. Very much so, due to said important update. There are other games that are able to be run, which is in one of my testings off screen, I tested out one of the other games such as for the PlayStation 1, which is a Red Alert Command and Conquer, the first game of a said sub-series in terms of my memory. Basically, I have heard of this game due to my dad years ago, enjoying this game after he got it and outright completed said game. And thankfully, it was able to run on Retrople, which is a good sign. However, there are some games that you cannot run because Retrople doesn't have all the cores of other consoles that are not as accessible, or even more so emulators for like game consoles that are like later versions. Like there's no way to like play PlayStation 2 games on Retroplay. You have to find other like multi-emulators, or outright just use like a concentrated like a PS2 focus like a emulator app instead, because like PlayStation 2 games like in terms of running on emulators are not as abundant compared to like some of the other consoles that are like in the lower and older generations. Obviously, you also cannot like play Xbox games, sadly. Like for the case of the phone, and like mainly because like those apps are like difficult to like configure so far, and like they're also hard to find, and you can't like even have like a PS3 nor Xbox 360, which like both of these consoles are one of my favorite console generations due to a few games that are like I basically like heard of but have yet to play, because like I don't have money to access them back then. But fortunately, there are like other like emulators, like a few Sega Dreamcast emulators, which is quite good. And I would say there are technically other emulators from like a certain company with like having said certain plumber mascot. But like I wouldn't like divulge any further, because like like said company would do when it comes to like emulators outright. They're outright like snipers for the most part. And like up to you to like research your preferred emulator, like for like some of those consoles. But like so far, Retroplay is like a good start for like multi-emulators for those who like want to have like certain games from like older generations up to like PS1 and like SEGA Saturn console games. So that's all I can say about like said Retroplay. Like very much a great alternative compared to like getting like Yabasanshiro to play some SEGA Saturn games, which are kind of hard to run. So that's all I can say for this video. So later, folks. Thanks for viewing this video as of now. Thanks for listening to the end of this video. So, later for now, folks.